Sitting inside the club, Moo-hyuk and his friends are enjoying their drinks. Myung-soo and Hyun-sung raise their glasses and say, "Here's to our everlasting friendship." They all cheer together, and Moo-hyuk, sitting nearby, remarks, "Why are you guys yelling? This is embarrassing. Keep it down." Myung-soo laughs and says, "We studied so hard for 3 years. It's time to have some fun." Myung-soo chimes in, "This place belongs to my dad, so I'll take care of the drinks and the booking." "Look, it's expensive whiskey. It's just for us." Moo-hyuk says, "All right, let's drink tonight." As he lifts his glass, he thinks to himself, "In my previous life, I used to drink a lot. Back then, soju and whiskey cost nearly tens of millions of won per bottle." He brings the glass to his lips, tasting the whiskey mixed with soda, and thinks, "It's been a long time since I've had a drink. This is the first whiskey of this life going down my throat." As he swallows, Moo-hyuk finds the sensation unpleasant and feels strange. He thinks, "Fake it." Myung-soo, sitting next to him, asks, "The burning sensation in my throat? How does it feel? Isn't it killer?" Moo-hyuk smiles lightly and replies, "Yeah, it's not bad. It's kind of like water." He then thinks, since this is Myung-soo's father's place, I'll only act like I'm drinking, but drink a little. At that moment, the waiter arrives and says, "Myung-soo, we have the most beautiful woman as our customer." Myung-soo and Hyun-sung are thrilled, their eyes lighting up as they see the lady. The waiter adds, "Make sure to take good care of her." Inside the club, more people are seated around them. The girl approaches Moo-hyuk and sits down beside him. She asks Moo-hyuk, "You look so young. How old are you?" "I am 21. Myung-soo responds, "We're 20. We just got accepted into college a few days ago." The girl curiously asks, "Oh, really? Which university?" Before anyone can answer, Myung-soo chimes in, "We're heading to Seoul," but Moo-hyuk quickly places his hand over Myung-soo's mouth and says, "A small college on the outskirts of Seoul." As they chat, a man suddenly approaches the table beside them, shouting, "What are you doing here?" Moo-hyuk, Myung-soo, and the rest of the group overhear the confrontation. The man angrily addresses the girl. "I've been wondering why you didn't come back from the bathroom, and now I find you hanging out with these young guys." The girl stands up from her seat, clearly irritated, and replies, "Seriously, I can't come here anymore. The crowd is awful now." The man responds, "What did you just say?" The girl, irritated, says, "I left the room without even drinking, so you should realize that I must not have liked your ugly face and just gave up. You look like a wild boar with no sense." The man, infuriated, shouts, "Wow, you're driving me crazy." Moo-hyuk, trying to avoid unnecessary trouble, thinks to himself, "The best thing I can do is leave." He stands up and says to his friends, "Sorry, but I'm leaving." Turning to Myung-soo, he adds, "Let's go." Myung-soo, holding a glass, mutters angrily abusive language and downs his drink. The man overhears Myung-soo's remark and asks, "What did you just say?" Moo-hyuk quickly steps to steady Myung-soo and says, "Hey, what's wrong with you? Have you been drinking? Let's get out of here." Myung-soo, visibly annoyed, snaps back, "Did I say something wrong? Why are you talking about others when you're here drinking too?" Moo-hyuk grabs Myung-soo by the arm and says, "You're ruining your father's business by acting like this. Come on, let's leave quickly." As they head forward, the angry man hurls a bottle at their feet, causing a loud crash. He shouts, "Where do you think you're going, punks? Come here, bastards." Another man headed and tried to calm down the angry man, saying, "Mr. Byun, let's handle this business between us. Let the kids go and let's go back inside." But Byun is too furious. The man shouts, slapping Mr. Lee in the face, "Mr. Lee, are you mocking me or what? Other things aside, I've been respectful to you since you were older than me, but you shouldn't be behaving like this. What is this? Now you are getting slapped by a younger guy at this age." Mr. Byun, completely out of control, kicks Mr. Lee to the ground and continues yelling, "You should have treated me better because I've always been good to you." At that moment, Myung-soo rushes toward Byun, swinging his fist and shouting, "You bastard." But Byun dodges the punch and throws him to the ground, then grabbing him by the hair, "Hey, son of Lee, I'm going to teach you an important lesson today. If you mess with me without knowing who they are, you'll get beaten," Byun threatens. Mr. Lee, still on the ground, pleads, "Please, Mr. Byun, stop this. I'm sorry. Just let my son go. Hit me instead of my son." Bayan, sneering, mocks him. Ha! Your love for your son is bringing tears to my eyes, Mr. Beyond, before raising his hand to slap Mr. Lee again. But before the blow lands, Muhyuk grabs Beyond's wrist and says, "That's enough. You've gone too far." Bayan, glaring at Muhyuk, demands, "Who do you think? Did you grab my arm?" Muhyuk replies calmly, "It doesn't matter how angry you are. You shouldn't be hitting a father in front of their son. Haven't you done enough? It's time to stop." Bayan, frustrated, puts his hand on his head and says, "Kids these days have no fear." He swings his fist at Muhyuk, saying, "Do you know who I am? Acting in front of me?" But Muhyuk quickly dodges the punch. "Look at this punk. You are going to die today," Bayan shouts as his thugs surround Muhyuk. One of the thugs stepped forward before he could strike. Mr. Bayan was suddenly startled, looking around in shock. "What?" But before he could fully grasp the situation, a punch landed squarely on him, sending him crashing to the ground. Muhyuk quickly turned to the side, his eyes scanning the scene. Mr. Bayan, now seated on the floor, glanced in the direction where the hit had come from. A man stepped forward and stood tall in front of them, his presence commanding attention. He spoke. "Hey, Shitty." Muhyuk noticed the person. The man, casually rotating his wrists, approached them with a menacing smirk and said, "Did you have fun while I was gone?" Muhyuk responded, "Park Dongsu." Park Dongsu and Biyun stand face to face. Biyun says, "How have you not been caught? You're a quiet thug that even the police let you go." Mr. Biyun responds, "Park Dongsu, this is my turf now." Park Dongsu steps forward and says, "So what? Nambo Dong wasn't yours before?" He kept his hands on his shoulder and said, "Get lost before I bash your head in." Mr. Biyun gets angry and starts to leave. Park Dongsu turns his attention to Muhyuk and says, "Oh my dear Kong Mumu, how have you been? It's nice to see you again. How about a glass of wine?" Moments later, they sit on the sofa. Park Dongsu forward him a bottle and says, "I saw the news. You are top in the country. I thought you were a strange guy, but I didn't expect you to be this smart." Muhyuk extends his glass and says, "When did you return?" Park Dongsu replies, "Since a while ago, but it took some time to discreetly reclaim old territories." Muhyuk asks, "So you managed to take control of this place too?" Park Dongsu drinks from his glass and says, "Yes, from Nambo Dong to Bosu Dong and Yongdo entire area originally belonged to us. I thought reclaiming it would take time and everyone had taken their share, so there were not any big fights." Park Dongsu continues, "The Sasun group, which I was part of, is finished. If you hadn't warned me, I'd still be in jail. Thanks to you, I survived." Park Dongsu asks further, "What do you want from me now?" Muhyuk says, "Pardon, what?" Park Dongsu replies, "You saved my life. I should repay you. I can't live when I am indebted to you." Muhyuk smiles slightly and says, "How long will it take you to get the Busan area under your control?" Park Dongsu says, "Dude, I'm asking you what you need. Why are you meddling in someone else's business?" Muhyuk responds, "That's exactly what I want right now." Park Dongsu adds, "Most of the area can be controlled about half a year if you stretch it. About a year. Everyone is arrested now. Just a fries left are left now." Muhyuk tells him to quickly take care of Busan. Make sure to bribe the police and the prosecutor, and handle everything with extra care. Lastly, don't ever get caught. Muhyuk further advises, avoid getting involved with the drugs. They'll crack down on it soon in an unparalleled manner. Even with connections to the police and prosecutors, it will be tough to get out of the situation. Muhyuk further advises and says, in the meantime, get ready to gradually move from working in shadows to being out in the daylight. Park Dongsu laughs and says, "Ha, daylight, little brother. People like us never step into the light. If I step into the daylight, someone from the darkness like me will rise, which means war all over again." Muhyuk responds, "So this is going to be a disguise. If you're going to obey all the rules, what's the point of being a gangster in the first place?" Park Dongsu says, "Gangs in Seoul have already started the process of becoming corporate." Muhyuk says, "Busan needs to catch up quickly. Otherwise, the gangs from Seoul will prevail. Hire competent lawyers and start corporatizing for now. If you have taken over all the Busan, advances to Seoul." Park Dongsu, while taking a drink from his glass, asks, "What's Seoul?" Park Dong-soo places the glass on the table and says, "Moo-hyuk, do you think this is easy? Seoul is a battlefield. People from all over the county come to fight there." Moo-hyuk pours more whiskey into his glass and says, "Don't worry about it, I'll help you. Trust me, I make all the preparations." Park Dong-soo responds, "What you're saying is ridiculous, but why does it feel so convincing?" He extends the glass, happy, and says, "All right, it's not so bad. Let's give it a try." Moo-hyuk pours wine into the glass and says, "There is a condition." Park Dong-soo asks, "Condition?" Moo-hyuk says, "During this process, my name and identity should not leak, no matter what happens. There should be no connection between us." Moo-hyuk then starts drinking from the glass and thinks to himself, "I can't have anyone find out me yet, not until I'm ready to fight the Cheon family." In the Cheon Taesin mansion, the headline about Moo-hyuk is highlighted in the newspaper interview where he mentions that studying is the easiest thing to do. Cheon Taesan reads it and laughs. The director asks, "Are you happy?" Cheon Taesan responds, "Of course, why wouldn't I be? None of our family members have ever gone to a Korean university law school, but he is the top scorer in the nation. I feel very refreshed when I talked with that old man from the Samsung group on call today." Cheon Taesan continues, "You don't know how they used to look down on me, thinking our family is nothing but a bunch of ignorant people with money. They did brag about how all their children go into good universities and studying abroad." The director says, "But they are the ones who come to borrow money from you, is not it?" The chairman adds, "That's true. They look down on us behind our backs, but when they need something, they come here to beg and wait for hours. They are people like that. I couldn't even finish elementary school and started working to make money. My children aren't that good at their studies either. If it weren't for the money, none of them would have gone to college." The director points out, "But didn't your second daughter, Miss Jisoo, go to a Korean university as a runner-up last year? At that time, you gave her a 1% share in Samsung Electronics as a gift." Cheon Taesan, smiling, says, "Yes, it's true. Jisoo is a smart kid, but I like this boy Moo-hyuk. It would have been great if he weren't my grandson, but a direct descendant of Cheon's surname." Cheon Taesan then thinks a bit and asks the director, "What does the news say about the president-elect?" The director responds, "They are still focused on quietly selecting a member for the transition committee members. You got a share of 2 positions." Cheon Taesan asks, "2 positions?" The director confirms, "Yes, this time the civilian government is making many requests." Cheon Taesan interrupts, "I understand what you're saying. No need to say more." Cheon Taesan further inquires, "Which 2 positions would be best in your opinion?" The director suggests, "I think placing someone in the position of Chief of Economic Affairs or Chief of Political Affairs would be good." Cheon Taesan asks, "Political affairs?" The director replies, "Yes, political affairs handle police and prosecution, so it would be the most suitable. What do you think?" Cheon Taesan agrees, "All right, let's do it. They will go directly to the Blue House." The director adds, "Yes." Cheon Taesan then asks, "By the way, where are Suman and Suhan these days?" The director says, "The second boss seems to be preparing for a new business venture, but..." Cheon Taesan asks, "Is there a problem?" The director responds, "It seems like the business is connected to gangsters." Cheon Taesan suddenly gets angry and says, "Gangsters? Aren't many gangs disbanded during the war on crime?" The director explains, "This is a gang that is slowly growing secretly under the protection of the Azure Wind Society." Cheon Taesan, furious, says, "What? Azure Wind Society? Why are they involved in such matters?" The director responds, "It seems they are getting involved in the slot machine business." Cheon Taesan, enraged, shouts, "Slot machines, that's the best they can do. Gambling?" The director adds, "He has also bribed Assemblyman Kim and his father-in-law. He led the licensing. Assemblyman Kim has already attended many political funds." Cheon Taesan says, "He must be handling tasks for his dang in-laws. I repeatedly warned him not to get involved in such things with the Azure Wind Society." The director asks, "Should we handle it?" Cheon Taesan replies, "Not yet. Just keep an eye on them to ensure no further issues arise." The director confirms, "Yes." Cheon Tae-san suddenly thinks, as your Win Society, I should never have borrowed their power during my younger days. Cheon Tae-san further reflects, it's because of my karma. Before I die, I will break this dang chain of ill fate, whatever it takes. In Cheon Tae-san's mansion, Moo-hyuk enters and says, Grandpa, I am here. Cheon Tae-san, with a pleased expression, responds, Welcome back, I was waiting for you. Moments later, they are seated in the drawing room. Cheon Tae-san asks, Did you find a place to stay in Seoul? As he sips his tea, he adds, I can get you an apartment, an office, near your college. Just let me know when you want to stay, and I'll also get you a housekeeper so you can focus on your studies. Moo-hyuk replies, If you feel all right with you, I'd like to stay here with you. Cheon Tae-san, a bit surprised, asks, Huh? Moo-hyuk explains, When I visited this house before, I always wanted to live here. My mother lived here when she was young, and I think I would feel closer to her if I stayed. Plus, I'd like to see you more often. Cheon Tae-san remains quiet for a moment, and then responds, Oh, you're pretty good at saying things that please this old man. Do as you wish. In his past life, Moo-hyuk had only come to this house when his grandfather called him. He was never invited to family gatherings, and was treated as a total outsider, because he was seen as just a servant to the family. But now, as a top student at Korea University Law School, he's become a source of pride for his grandfather. So naturally, Grandpa is treating me differently. After sipping his tea, Cheon Tae-san asks, Now tell me, you kept the promise of getting accepted into Korean Law University 3 years ago. What was the gift you want from me? Moo-hyuk says, It seems like you're very curious about it, considering you called me right after my graduation ceremony. Cheon Tae-san responds, Curious? Getting into Korea University Law School or having a perfect score on college entrance exams to one of the top schools isn't something just because you want to. Why wouldn't I be curious? What is it that you've been studying so hard for? Grandpa adds, How could I not be curious? What kind of great thing did you want that made you study so hard for it? Go ahead, tell me now, what is it that you need and want? Moo-hyuk looks at him and says, I want to know about your work. Cheon Tae-san is taken aback, and the director, standing nearby, looks at Moo-hyuk but remains silent. Cheon Tae-san asks, Are you saying you want to know about my work? Moo-hyuk says, That's right. Cheon Tae-san says, Are you saying that while being fully aware of the type of work I do, the private money lending business isn't just about lending and collecting money? Moo-hyuk responds, I don't know much about it, but I do know that the work you do isn't ordinary. That's why I want to learn and find out more. Cheon Tae-san looks at him in surprise. Moo-hyuk had thought long and hard about this. What does he need to seize all of his grandfather's wealth and take revenge on the Cheon brothers? But what would he ask from them? Money, people, real estate, or stocks that were vertically rising in value? Eventually, using the future knowledge he possessed, earning money wouldn't be an issue. Stocks, real estate, commodities, foreign exchange. But if he accumulated wealth too quickly, he would be exposed, and his uncles, Suhan and Suman, would try to keep him in check. Moo-hyuk knew he didn't have enough power or strength yet to protect himself. The funds he would need to fight against his uncles had to be hidden so that no one would know about them. Ultimately, his best choice he has is to pretend to learn by working with Grandpa in pursuit of winning his heart and making him act according to my will. Cheon Tae-san, breaking his silence, says, You said you wanted to learn about my work. Are you considering that as the reward for the bet you made 3 years ago? You could ask for something much bigger than what you can hold in your hands right now. Moo-hyuk replies, I think learning how to catch the fish, rather than getting the fish handed to me, would be much more helpful to me. Cheon Tae-san silent for a moment, then turned his gaze toward the director and asks, What do you think? The director responds, Isn't it too early? I think it would be better if he started after graduating from university. Moo-hyuk quickly adds, I don't have much attachment to academics. I want to start now. Both Cheon Tae-san and the director look at him. Cheon Tae-san asks, What are you talking about? We're discussing Korea University Law School. Don't you want to become a judge, prosecutor, or lawyer? Moo-hyuk responds, Getting into Korea University was just proof of my determination and ability to show you what I'm capable of. What I want to become is someone with great power, like you, Grandpa. Cheon Taeson looks at him, but remains silent. Moo-hyuk continues. If you want me to become a lawyer, I'll fulfill that wish. I am prepared to take the bar exams as soon as needed, whenever you say. Cheon Taeson says, you're talking about the bar exam as if it is going to be served on a silver platter to you. The director standing there thinks, this man is truly unpredictable. Is he the man with greater capabilities than I imagined? Cheon Taeson finally says, all right then, let's give it a shot. He turns to the director and says, let him start to work with you. The director agrees, saying, yes, sir. Later, Mayuk and the director are seated in the room. The director explains, the chairman is fundamentally involved in a loan business. To put it bluntly, these are private loans. Some call it money lending, but most refer to it as private loans. It operates within the framework of the law, which is why you need to fully understand the law. Since we are talking about large sums of money here, and we need foolproof collateral. Collateral can be real estate or various types of bonds. We also accept stocks, but they're highly volatile, and we only accept them in cases where they can affect the company's share. He continues, the chairman personally deals with domestic conglomerates. We cater to them when they need urgent funds or amounts that the banks can't manage. This amount ranges from tens of billions to hundreds of billions per day. At that time, large banks hadn't developed yet, and private lenders like Myeong-dong, like his grandfather, were practically at the center of financial business. The director continues, telling him that he needs to understand the initial negotiation process, where the chairman deals with domestic conglomerates. That's why he has to study and read about ledgers and laws related to collateral. The director places a large stack of books and papers in front of him, saying, these are ledgers, contracts, and legal materials, all related to the collateral we currently have. Review everything within 3 days and submit a summary and key points to me. Moo-hyuk feels annoyed because he already knows about these things, but still has to pretend he's studying. A week later, in the mansion, Cheon Taeson holds the papers and asks the director about all the information shared. Now that you have told him, what do you think? Cheon Taeson asks. The director replies, he's capable of seeing through the flow of money and finding hidden patterns in several documents. Sometimes you require a lot of experience and time to develop these skills, but this young master understands them easily, as if he already knows. Is that so? Cheon Taeson ponders for a moment. The director adds that they met with cooperative representatives as a formality, and Moo-hyuk wasn't intimidated at all. He was quite natural. I didn't need to help him at all, the director concludes. Is that so? Cheon Taeson asks again. The director continues. I think he could learn all the practical tasks I can teach him within a few days. Cheon Taeson then says, can I put him in charge of the Myeong-dong operations? The director is slightly surprised and asks, isn't that too soon? Will the head of Myeong-dong acknowledge him? Cheon Taeson replies, I'm entrusting him with my work. Why do I need acknowledgement? The director, concerned, asks, do even Presidents Cheon Soo-min and Cheon Soo-han find him hard to deal with? Would the young master be able to handle this? Cheon Taeson responds, he'll eventually have to face it. Isn't it better for him to do it whether it's sooner or later? Visit all the heads of Myeong-dong and collect the bank books. Yes, sir, the director agrees. Chairman Tae-san, feeling excited, says, let's see if this boy is going to be of any use to us, all right? In a large office building, Cheon Soo-min receives a phone call. Is he really going to Myeong-dong? The Soo-min says before hanging up. Looking out the window, Soo-min says, Father, what exactly are you planning to do with this young kid?